Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we are going to be covering a 2023 NFL mock draft. Now, this is a way too early mock, but I think it is important to kind of cover some of the prospects that will be coming up in this upcoming draft. A lot of quarterback prospects that are going to be taken at the early portion of this first round. So there's a lot to love about this class. You got Will Anderson as well, the explosive edge. So this is an absolutely loaded class with how it looks currently. And we're going to go ahead and break down some of the key picks. And obviously, I'm going to give you guys my entire first round mock. Hit that subscribe button if you are new. It's important to stay up to date on this channel with all the mock drafts throughout the year. So jumping into it at number one, we have the Houston Texans. And the Houston Texans here have a really good opportunity to take an edge. And I think with how they've built this defense so far, it's really critical that they get a guy that will absolutely wreak havoc both against the run and the pass, a consistent edge rusher, a guy that is unbelievable. That's Will Anderson Jr. Make no mistake about it. This guy is an absolute beast. I think he's going to be potentially the number one overall pick, considering where the Texans might be. Maybe they consider quarterback. However, if Davis Mills plays well enough once again, I think they will just go ahead, stay the course with him and continue to put talent on the roster around him. And maybe they can build something there in Houston. Number two, we have the Atlanta Falcons, and the Atlanta Falcons, they were patient. They've been kind of waiting to figure out maybe that quarterback position. And the tough part about this is with the selection of Desmond Ridder, that could really change exactly where this team decides to go. Obviously, they might just go ahead and give Ridder a shot. Maybe Mariota's the guy. I don't really know, but I think if they are picking at 2 next year, I don't think they're going to really blink twice. I think they will end up still taking a quarterback and then might have to move on from Ridder. Some Falcon fans believe he's the future. Others think that, maybe this guy is really not it. But when there's so much high-end talent here in this first round, I think you definitely have to consider a guy like Bryce Young here at number 2. So I'm going to go ahead and mock him there. Yes, I understand they ended up drafting Ridder this past year, but is that going to be enough to really hinder them from going ahead and selecting a guy as talented as Bryce Young? And then we get on to number 3, which is the Detroit Lions. And I kind of look at the Detroit Lions as a big-time quarterback landing spot. They were patient this year. They felt like, we're going to hold off on that position and build the roster throughout, which they might have another tough season, or they're going to be even more competitive than we think. I'm kind of looking at it through that lens. I think it's very wise for them to go ahead and take a quarterback. I'm kind of looking at the board here, and I think CJ Stroud is the clear and obvious choice. A couple of other quarterbacks that could be in consideration. However, CJ Stroud has so much talent around him currently. He's going to have a very productive season. He has high upside. He's kind of checking all the boxes when you look at the QBs in this class. CJ Stroud has requisite athleticism to be a pocket, a guy that can maneuver throughout the pocket and extend plays. So going ahead and selecting CJ Stroud here at number 3. At number 4, we have the New York Jets, and I think they're going to continue to build this defense. That was a focal point in this past first round, obviously selecting Jermaine Johnson, and you look at what they were able to do with Sauce Gardner. I think they're going to get better along that defensive line, and that's kind of the mindset that they're going to be having here. So that's why I see a guy like Jalen Carter from Georgia, who's going to be an absolute beast along that defensive line this year. He very well could shoot himself into that top 4. So I get the Jets going there. Moving on to the Jags, I think it's going to be a big question of, does Trevor Lawrence still have enough? I understand the signing of Christian Kirk. Marvin Jones will not be there next year. Laviska Shenault's future's up in the air. There's a lot of different questions I have about this receiving core in general. And that's why I do think it's wise for them to consider wide receiver. So with that being said, I definitely think that they are considering guys like Kayshon Boutte, Jackson Smith and Jigba. All of them should be in play here, but I ultimately think that Boutte could have the best year of these wide receivers. Very productive guy, terrific route runner, great hands. So I go ahead and opt for him at number 5. Number 6 is the Carolina Panthers, and the Carolina Panthers are also in a position where, they had drafted Matt Corral. We're not exactly sure if he's going to be the quarterback of the future for this team, but I think it'd be wise for them to continue to add more weapons to this offense to really give him the best chance to succeed if he ends up being that guy. Jackson Smith and Jigba is going to be my pick. So we have back-to-back receivers going out the board. We saw how much of a beast he was at Ohio State last year. Obviously now with no Garrett Wilson, no Chris Olave, There's going to be other supplemental receivers that, take away from some of that target share. However, he is going to be the main point of that offense. And I think it's pretty clear and obvious that that's, where Carolina would be definitely considering. I love that for the Panthers. I think Smith and Jigba could be a true number one guy in the league. Same thing goes with Kayshon Boutte, both very talented receivers. At number 7, we have the New York Giants, and this is a team that's going to continue to build the offense. They're going to be looking for a high volume tight end potentially under Brian Daboll. And I think Michael Mayer could be the guy from Notre Dame. Terrific pass catcher, really, really good after the catch. And I think he's going to kind of embody what the New York Giants are looking for. Very, very similar with how Dawson Knox was used in Buffalo. I think that kind of carries over here with Michael Mayer going, to the New York Giants. Now at number 8, the Chicago Bears do have a first-round pick. Obviously, does not belong to the Giants in this one, thankfully. Now I'm looking at them, and it's pretty clear that they have to go wide receiver. Looking at the current roster and where they stand, to me, it just makes way too much sense to go ahead and take a wide receiver. And there's a couple of talented guys on the board, so let's not get that mistaken here. And I look more specifically at that wide receiver position. Jordan Addison had an absolutely huge year with Kenny Pickett at Pittsburgh. I think that's going to carry over. Justin Fields needs a number one guy. Darnell Mooney is a terrific receiver in his own right, but I think Addison has, true wide receiver one potential here at number 8. Chicago Bears have got to give Justin Fields more weapons, more specifically at that wide receiver position. So that's where I'm going there. Number 9, we have the Seattle Seahawks, and the Seattle Seahawks are in a position where they're probably going to be looking at quarterback next year once again. This is a tough decision to kind of look at some of the guys that are available. You definitely have to consider Spencer Rattler as a guy to be in the mix. He's a good athlete, and he's got a pretty strong arm. I think that very well could be enough to push him into that top 10. He was supposed to be the first overall pick this past year. Obviously there's a lot of things that ended up happening throughout the course of the year. And then he went from potential number 1 pick to having to transfer to South Carolina. So Spencer Rattler here at number 9. Number 10, we have the Commanders. And looking at kind of what they've lost during the offseason, Brandon Sheriff is not in town anymore. I think that Osiris Torrance could make a lot of sense. You got to replace that guard at some point here. Obviously, Brandon Sheriff made a lot of key starts for them. Obviously had some injury history. However, Osiris Torrance could be a productive Pro Bowl level guard sitting here at number 10. And I think that makes too much sense for me. He's going to be a part of an improving offensive line there in Washington. Now we move to the Pittsburgh Steelers, and the Pittsburgh Steelers, I think, are going to continue to build this offensive line. I don't think there's any secret about that. Kenny Pickett's your future. This is the guy you invested a first-round draft choice into. Peter Scronsky from Northwestern, one of the best tackle prospects in the entire draft, if not the best tackle prospect. I think he is going to be the pick here. They're going to continue to better that offensive line. They want to make sure that they have a stout run game, and Scronsky is definitely going to move the needle for both the pass and the run game. So to me, it makes too much sense for them at 11 to go there. At number 12, we have the Philadelphia Eagles, followed by the Eagles once again. A lot of talented players on the board here. I see this as a big-time landing spot potentially for Nolan Smith out of Georgia, a big-time recruit. I believe he might have even been the number 1 overall recruit in his high school class, according to 24/7. And then at number 13, you can go ahead and take a corner here. Kele Ringo, one of the more talented prospects, once again at that corner spot. I think the Eagles get so much better defensively here, really addressing 2 levels of that defense. That's going to be absolutely key for them moving forward. This is a very talented roster. They were very strategic on how they wanted to build this. And I think it's kind of paying off with what you're seeing right now. So I like what the Eagles are doing, and I think that makes a lot of sense. Number 14, we have the New England Patriots. And the New England Patriots, they like long, tall corners. That's exactly what Eli Ricks brings. This is the transfer from LSU that jumps over to Alabama, and he is going to be an absolute star from the second he jumps on that campus. Nick Saban is going to help groom him into one of the top corner prospects in the entire draft. He definitely had he just didn't enjoy his time really at LSU, I don't believe, and he makes that switch to Alabama and goes ahead and joins up with Nick Saban. Number 15, we have the Las Vegas Raiders, and I kind of look at this as an opportunity to kind of reconfigure that offensive line. Emil Ekiyor Jr. from Alabama, very talented guard. Once again, goes to the Raiders. They're going to kind of rework this offensive line, kind of reestablish that identity. There's been a lot of shakeup over the past year, and I think that's going to continue here with taking Emil at number 15. And now you follow it up with the Dolphins pick, and there's a lot of different ways that the Miami Dolphins can go. Considering that they have 2 first-round picks, you got 1 later on. It's hard not to see them go with a guy like Noah Sewell, such a talented linebacker from Oregon. He can do a lot of different things in the run. Also, he gets better and better against the pass as well. Very instinctual linebacker, and I think that's going to fit in very, very nicely with this Miami Dolphins defense. At number 17, we have the Tennessee Titans, and I think you're going to have another opportunity for them to address that wide receiver position. I think it's pretty clear that they could be looking at wideout at some point here. Quentin Johnson from TCU is going to be one of those higher risers, going to see his name flash up quite a bit. Should have a very, very productive season at TCU. So I'm going to go ahead and select Quentin Johnston here at number 17. Tennessee is going to continue to improve that offense. I think it starts once again at that wide receiver position. Obviously, Treylon Burks is in the mix. Quentin Johnston is another guy that's going to be a very, very key player for them moving forward. Now we have the Indianapolis Colts, and a lot of the big MO with the Colts has been building and establishing a consistent offensive line. Connor Galvin is still here at 18. I think it's one of those Indianapolis Colts picks that they just tend to lean on. They love building up that offensive line. They love having consistent play out of their trenches. Connor Galvin is the latest example of that for this Indianapolis Colts team. Now at number 19, we have the Minnesota Vikings, and the Minnesota Vikings, they've been looking at a lot of corners. Patrick Peterson is likely very well could be in his last year. Look at Andrew Booth Jr. has just been brought in as well. You're going to need another corner to go into next year with. And I look at Malachi Moore from Alabama as the perfect fit for them. He's going to be able to match up on a boundary. Him and Andrew Booth Jr. should be a nice tandem for many years to come. At number 20, we have the Arizona Cardinals, and I see them looking once again at that corner spot. I definitely think that should be in the mix, should be in the consideration for them, considering where their team's at. Clark Phillips III is going to be a perfect addition to the secondary. Obviously, playing in an absolutely loaded division, you're going to need to have great corner play. That's what Clark Phillips can do. Can be a really, really good, consistent man-to-man guy at the next level out of Utah. 21, we have the Baltimore Ravens, and the Baltimore Ravens, they have to take a wide receiver. They've already invested one, with Rashad Bateman, but I think that this wide receiver room, considering Marquise Brown is gone, you definitely have to reshape it a little bit. Marvin Mims from Oklahoma is going to be that guy for me. I think the Baltimore Ravens are in a position where they're going to have to consider, really opening up this offense. It's really tough with Hollywood gone. But I at the same time, they've done a really nice job building out the rest of this roster. Now with the Cincinnati Bengals here at 22, I'm kind of looking at it through the lens of maybe improving a little bit more along that defensive front, more specifically at that D tackle position. Calijah Kancey from Pittsburgh, another Pittsburgh product, goes off the board. If you are the Cincinnati Bengals, you are contending with a lot of run-heavy teams in that AFC North. So I think this is a great counter move to that. So go ahead and take a guy like Kancey here. It's going to be a terrific run stopper at that next level. 23 with the Houston Texans. Once again, I think that when you look at what they've done a pretty good job with the collection of assets that they do have. Bayern Robinson is going to be my guy from Texas. I definitely think when you're looking at the Houston Texans, they have to continue to establish a consistent ground game. They're going to have to build that through offensive line play. And also you're going to need a running back to be a consistent long-term option. Robinson is going to fit the bill for them, tough runner. And I look at the Houston Texans as a running back needy team with that second first-round pick that they have. Now we have the Dallas Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys, I think at that safety spot is somewhere where they can definitely make an improvement, in my opinion. I'm looking at guys like Brandon Joseph, who very well could have came out this past year, Jordan Battle. I think both of them should be in big-time consideration for this spot, but I'm going to go and opt for a guy like Jordan Battle. Very well could have been a first round pick this past year. So good against the run, so smart, obviously against the pass. So I love this for the Dallas Cowboys, continue to build out that secondary. Now at 25, we have the LA Chargers, and the LA Chargers here, I definitely think they're going to be considering that linebacking spot. I think that there's no way of getting around it really at this point. Obviously taking Zion Johnson in the first round this year, I think they're going to be considering I thought they probably were looking at guys like Devin Lloyd in that first round. However, opted to go with the guard. Henry To'oTo'o, an absolute stud at Alabama. It's going to be a terrific addition to the second level of this Chargers defense. You want to see them continue to get better. Obviously, once again, in a very, very loaded and competitive division, you're going to have guys that can do a lot of different things for you. That's what Henry To'oTo'o can do. So much versatility in his game. I think that's the perfect fit for the Chargers. Now at 26, we have the Seattle Seahawks. And Seattle Seahawks, with the second first-round pick, should be making it a point of emphasis to look at the guard spot, look at offensive line play in general. Paris Johnson Jr., not a lot to say other than the fact that the Seattle Seahawks have to get better up front. I don't think that's really a secret at all. That was kind of a little bit of their downfall when they had Russell Wilson. They relied so heavily on his escapability that they maybe kind of left him toast a little bit with that offensive line. Now you have the Miami Dolphins once again. I'm going to go ahead and select Brandon Joseph, the safety. And I think when you look at Brandon Joseph here, definitely could be an impact player right away for this Dolphins team. You may be wondering, do they really need one? I think going into next year, they will be considering that safety spot once again. I like this for the Miami Dolphins. Having those 2 first-round picks is absolutely huge, and securing a guy as good as Brandon Joseph is terrific. Now at 28, we have the Green Bay Packers, and the Green Bay Packers, I think that it's really, make no mistake, that they might be looking edge heading into next year. BJ Ojulari from LSU, one of those guys that might be a high riser when it comes to actual draft time. He's one of those high upside defensive ends that can really make an impact on a team. I think Green Bay is going to see the value in that, whether he's a rotational guy or a full-time starter. This guy can make a big impact right away early in his career. At 29, we have the Detroit Lions, and I think they're going to continue to address the linebacking unit. Justin Flo from Oregon is going to be the pick. And I say this because Dan Campbell has made it a big point of emphasis to consistently grab guys in that front seven. So getting him here is good value, A, and B is kind of embodying what the Detroit Lions have been trying to build over the last couple of years under Dan Campbell. Now we have the Kansas City Chiefs, and I think when you consider where they're at, this is something that's not being talked about a lot, but I think they could be looking at tight end with the amount of 2 tight end sets that they could run with, hypothetically, with Kelsey and Cameron Latu. I think it makes a lot of sense, really stretching out defenses in terms of having 2 guys that can consistently be effective in the run game and also, obviously catch a lot of footballs. Latu can do that. So I like that here for the Kansas City Chiefs. Not something that a lot of people are talking about, but is for sure a possibility. Now looking at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Tampa Bay Buccaneers have to be looking offensive line, in my opinion. I think that's what makes a lot of sense to me. DeJuan Jones is still here. I'm going to take him out of Ohio State. Who really knows the future of Tom Brady? But if he is still around next year, I want to get better along that offensive line. So I go ahead and select him. And, with Jones, you can play him at guard, you can play him at tackle. Versatility along that offensive line is key. That's what Tampa Bay is getting. And then finally, we have the Buffalo Bills, a team that, when it comes to contract wise, they will be having to look at safety just with where they're at and everything. Tyke Smith is the name that definitely stands out to me from Georgia. Consistent playmaker at that next level, going to be taking over. Obviously, Lewis Cine's gone, so you got to have a guy in that back end you can trust. Tyke Smith, his name's going to continue to ascend. Kirby Smart's defensive players have just been, they've transitioned well to the NFL. I think a guy like Tyke Smith could be a really good selection. So I want to take this opportunity to thank everybody for tuning in for this way too early NFL mock draft. Appreciate all the support. Hit that subscribe button if you are new. Also leave a like on today's video if you did enjoy the comment. Let me know in the comment section below who you are the most excited to see next year in this mock draft. I appreciate it, and we'll catch you in the next video.